Welcome everyone, this is Gwydion with RPG Frequencies, and today I'm going to be walking through a current Kickstarter called Riftbreakers, which is the second edition, and this is a solo and co-op role-playing game by Alex T. of Black Oath Entertainment. I will give you a disclaimer up front, and that is I've already backed this Kickstarter. I back virtually anything that comes out from Alex T., as I love his role-playing games. So you've got that bias. If that bothers you or encourages you, hopefully that will help you decide whether you want to keep watching this video. But in all seriousness, I love Alex's games. He makes really crunchy, exciting games, and I can't wait to show this to you. So as of the recording of this video, there's 5 days left on this Kickstarter. So if you find this video while it's still going on, I would encourage you to check out the Kickstarter. So with that, let's jump in and go through the PDF. Handful of disclaimers before we get into the body of the PDF. One, this is an alpha document, which means it's not complete. It's missing the bestiary chapter, unlock stretch goals, and that content combined should add another 100 pages or so to the book. So this is going to be a very meaty, beefy tome, which is awesome. Everything's still under development, subject to change, even if it's already in what I'm showing you, and further play testing is still ongoing. Most of the artwork is missing, and you'll see gray boxes as I flip through the PDF, and those are where the illustrations will go. All the artwork will be original, commissioned for this edition. There was a lot of stock art in the first game, but rest assured, this game and this edition, I should say, will have original commissioned artwork. The backers will get the beta 1 once the Kickstarter campaign ends. Currently, Alex thinks that's going to be around June 15th, so we'll see. And that'll include all the missing parts, barring any, crazy stretch goals that are unlocked that have to be added later. The book will be in a 7x10 format, which is slightly larger than the original edition, which was a 5x5, 5.5 by 8.5 format. All right, let's jump in. So what is the general premise and the concept of Riftbreakers? So as you're playing Riftbreakers, you take control of a single character and embark on all sorts of adventures, undertaking challenges that you will see traveling the land of Cathor, which is being besieged by strange magic storms that unleash terrible monsters in their wake. And this game is intended to recreate the feeling of a massively multiplayer role-playing game. Randomly generated loot, detailed crafting, dungeons that are in the form of rifts, and meaningful character progression. So what is the system? What's the core of the system? So at its core, this is a D100 system to resolve all tasks. It includes unique and engaging combat using what is called an ability loadout. And this is a mechanic that's similar to a hand of cards. I'll spend more time on that as we get into the combat system. The character creation system and the character you will build is classless. And the game itself includes a strange, fully fleshed out world with a ton of random quests, rifts, encounters, and loot. So let's get into what is the core of your character. So you'll have attributes, which include ability pools, which we'll get into later. But your attributes include things like ability pools, Aether, which is more like a psychic and spiritual power. You've got luck, parry, and protection, which is sort of like your armor. Right, there's 30 unique skills that offer a variety of fields to help customize your character. I won't flip through all that, but as you kind of scan the page that I have up on the screen, there's some pretty unique skills in here that I think will allow you to create really the type of character that you want to create. So there is a proficiency concept for weapon, but what I want to talk a bit about that's unique is the hearts and abilities. So this is what makes your PC unique and special. And attributes include an ability pool and, instead of classes, the way you will customize your PC will be with a collection of powers that are grouped around a theme or particular play style. And that's the essence of what the heart is. You begin with 2 hearts, but there's no limit to the number of hearts that you can obtain throughout the game as you're exploring Cathor. You'll fill out your ability loadout before combat by populating a D12 table of abilities that come from your hearts. You can, quote, stack the deck by including up to 3 copies of the same ability in this table. And again, I'll get to that a little bit more as we're getting into combat, but you start with the abilities that you've selected as part of character creation, which we'll get into next. But there are currently 12 hearts to choose from, and those hearts include hearts like Arcane, Arrow, Bastion, Blade, Death, Devastation, Elemental, Might, Restoration, Ritual, Shadow, and Time. So I'm just showing one on the screen right now, but each of the hearts will have numerous combat abilities that have various Aether costs and some non-combat abilities that are always available to you. All right, let's jump into character creation. So character creation and the progression system is quick, it's fun, it's engaging, and I'll record another video, I think, on going through the character creation process. You'll walk through a brief introduction story as you create your character. I'm not going to spoil that. I mean, you can see it if you want, I suppose, up on the screen. But as you go through this, you'll develop your attributes and skills, basic gear, choose your hearts and heart abilities, and finally, a path that you will select, which is a collection of achievements grouped thematically that will slowly unlock more capabilities over time. So they get gradually more challenging in terms of how you are able to unlock these capabilities over time. All right, for character progression, you'll progress in 2 fundamental ways, or by 2 fundamental ways. One is acquiring loot, and the other is improving your skills. As you acquire more gear, you'll assimilate more hearts and abilities. When you roll doubles in your checks during the game, that'll give you the potential to possibly increase the skill at the end of a section. So this is, I think, similar to maybe Dragonbane and others, that you'll basically check off that skill, and at the end of the session, you'll roll to see if you actually are able to progress that skill. All right, we're going to jump into combat and how that works, because I think this is a pretty unique and engaging system and different than most RPGs, at least that I've played. So it's a little more similar to a deck building game. So there are even optional card decks that you can see in the callouts, in the dark callout at the bottom of this screen. But you can buy those decks, but they're not required to play the game. You can play it fully without purchasing any supplemental decks. And actions are not limited to, say, 1 action per turn, but rather limited to your Aether pool, which in my mind is going to make choosing abilities very strategic and how combat works. So you'll populate your 12 slots in your ability loadout table with your unique abilities. You can have up to 3 copies of each ability to make it more likely that when you draw your initial hand, which is how you will determine what abilities are available to you on your turn. But you can kind of stack the deck by creating up to 3 copies of each ability and putting it in your 12 loadout slots. Think of the 12 slots as a little bit more of your complete set of cards. And you might have multiple copies of the same card. So on your turn, you'll randomly roll 5 times on the table, or you'll draw 5 cards if you have the physical deck. And if you roll a duplicate, you'll pick the next ability on the table or draw the next card. So these 5 unique abilities now make up your current hand for your turn, or what you have able to utilize for that turn. Now you can use any of those cards in your hand, but you're limited to your total Aether cost. So it's not like most of the games I typically play, which is, hey, you've got 1 action, you've got a reaction, or what have you, and maybe 1 movement. In this case, outside of movement, which is its own action, you'll have the ability to utilize whatever cards you can capped by your total Aether. At the end of your turn, you can discard any number of abilities from your hand, which will go back into your ability loadout. On your next turn, you're going to repeat the procedure until you have a full hand of 5 abilities. So you could keep one of the cards or abilities if you're pretty sure you want to use that on your next turn. So to me, that's a pretty unique, and I'm excited to test out that system. So as far as combat, the actual combat is abstract with combat zones instead of a true combat grid. If you're in the same zone of your opponent, then you can engage in melee combat. For ranged attacks, you must be at least one zone away. And for spells, they have a range varying from 0 to 3. So with spells, you can potentially kind of reach across the entire battlefield. All right, I'm going to skip kind of the damage types and some of the other details, initiative checks, what have you. I think those are pretty standard, but still cool. But let's get into companions. So companions are very robust, and there's an entire section. I'll flip through some of this quickly, but it's a very fully imagined system. So you won't start with a companion, but you will obtain them via quest rewards. And companions have their own stats and distinct combat roles, such as protectors, controllers, executioners, and members. And in order to use them, you're going to have to add them to your abilities loadout. So they will be part of your deck. And as you can see on the screen, each of the unique and distinct combat roles have a different types of actions that you might roll during your turn. So they have a passive ability that is determined randomly, and that is on the next page. I think I'll show you, or maybe later in this section. But on your turn, if you do have essentially a card in your hand to utilize the companion, then you're going to roll on this action table for the particular turn to see what they do. So a lot of variability. And this will be, I believe you roll this when you first draw your companion, or find them, I should say. And I think this unique ability does not change, I don't believe, over time, but I could be wrong. All right. So the rest of this, I'm going to go through. I'm just going to touch on each, but know that there is an entire section on playing without a game master. So oracles, yes, no questions, setting the scene. So in general, you're absolutely going to be able to play Riftbreakers, and it's intended to play solo without a game master, but he does have a very fully baked system on how you can go about even more fleshing out the story and how to use this without any type of game master, bunch of tables, etc., which is awesome. As far as exploring, again, there is a full world to explore. This section goes into the world, what are rifts. It goes into what you are, which is a stranger, and that's what your character is. Talks a bit more about the history of hearts and powers and all the different regions and sections of Kathos. So very, very robust system. I use that word a lot. All right, the questing system. Again, this is going to be the main way of how you roam around Kathor and search for adventure. There's questing boards, there's rewards. So you can use this in terms of how you're going to get through the world, and it'll increase your reputation. There's different types of quests. There's hunts, there's patrols, there's closing rifts, and all kinds of unique ways to explore Kathor. Fully fleshed out gathering crafting system. So you'll be finding ingredients, you'll be gathering different items, you'll be crafting, and all sorts of detail around cooking and ingredients for that. So again, you can see this is right now, it goes over 100 pages. And I think, again, it will be more than another 100 after adding the bestiary and some of the other things he's contemplating. Gear and loot. So the last chapter here is all about, finding gear, finding weapons. There are different weapon strikes that cost Aether. So you can see there's a whole table on melee weapons, ranged weapons, ammunition, armor, and what have you. There's kits available. So the point being, this is a very fully baked out system. So I'm going to end it there. I probably went even a little longer than I wanted. So look, I'm super excited for this Kickstarter to deliver. And if you're still within that 5-day window of when I'm recording this video, check out the Kickstarter. If you came to this late, I'm sure by the time you're looking at this, if the Kickstarter is over, hopefully there'll be a way quickly to order this separately. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give a like, give a subscribe if you're interested in the channel, and ask any questions. And I talk to Alex T at least on Discord probably every single day. So if you do have any questions or anything else you want to know about the system, let me know. Till next time, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.